What if I told you there's a barbarian build that'll practically break your campaign? I'm revealing how to build this unstoppable tank step by step. Hey everyone, if you're new here, I'm Kristen and this is Kristen's Epic Adventures, where I break down the rules, offer tips and tricks, and share unboxings and reviews. Now if you're looking to play an absolute tank that's able to soak up the hits while dealing some serious damage, you don't want to miss this build. Plus at the end, I've included some bonus tips on how to roleplay this colossal character. Let's dive in. What if I told you there's a level 1 barbarian build that's basically impossible to knock down? And it's only getting stronger with the new 2024 rules. I'm going to walk you through every step, from abilities to gear to a special trick that will make you the party's ultimate tank. Trust me, you'll want to see the final reveal. Now, barbarians in 2024 still offer the same rage-fueled carnage. Now, what is it that a barbarian excels at? They can soak up the hits with damage-reducing tactics. They dish out big melee damage with strength-based attacks. And they're great at protecting those squishier allies. Now, to build a barbarian that packs a punch, we're going to focus on 3 stats: strength, constitution, and dex. High strength is going to give us heavy hits for melee damage. The constitution is going to give us some extra hit points, good for absorbing any big hits that come our way. And that dexterity is going to help with our armor class and initiative score, especially when we use unarmored defense. Now, to keep things pretty even, we're going to build this barbarian with the standard array of scores. That means on page 38 of the player's handbook, you're going to use a 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8. And there's a chart on this page that suggests which scores to put in what abilities for each class. For a barbarian, it suggests the 15 in strength, the 13 in dex, the 14 in constitution, 10 in intelligence, 12 in wisdom, and 8 in charisma. Now, this is what we're going to go for our build, but we're actually going to swap the intelligence and the charisma. I suggest putting the 8 in your intelligence and the 10 in your charisma, because charisma is where our barbarian is going to excel at intimidation. Can't you just picture this big beefy barbarian trying to intimidate their way through your enemies? Now, jumping over to page 50 is where this barbarian build begins in the new 2024 player handbook. Opposite some amazing new artwork, there's a chart of core barbarian traits. You're going to see that their primary ability is strength. They use a D12 for their hit point die, and they have saving throw proficiencies in strength and constitution. Now, it also tells you that you can pick 2 skills to be proficient in between animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, or survival. The 2 that I chose were intimidation, based on that charisma score, and also athletics, because these are big, beefy, tanky guys. They should be good at some type of athletics, right? Now, we're going to come back to this box when we choose our equipment, but I want to note, first of all, that a beginning barbarian at level 1 does get the rage ability. Now, rage is a force inside you that gives you extra might and resilience. You use this as a bonus action. It does 2 points of extra damage for levels 1 through 8, and then it increases. While you're raging, you have resistance, which means you only take half damage if that damage is bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. Now, initially at level 1, you can use it 2 times per long rest, but once you hit level 3, you're going to be able to use it 3 times. Also at level 1, you're going to get unarmored defense, which means you don't even need to wear any armor, and you already get a great armor class, because everybody starts at 10 and you get to add your dexterity bonus, but you also get to add your constitution modifier. Now, level 1 barbarians also get weapon mastery. All the martial classes get to have weapon mastery at first level. This is going to allow you to choose mastery over specific weapons, which is going to tie into our equipment, and you'll see how this makes a big difference. So once we know we're playing a barbarian, the next choice to make is what kind of background that barbarian has. Building a big tank like this, there are 2 backgrounds that really stood out to me for a barbarian. One is soldier, and the other one is actually a farmer. Now, this is because in the new 2024 rules, backgrounds come with an origin feat for everyone. And the reason these 2 stood out is because the soldier gets the savage attacker feat, and the farmer gets the tough feat. Now, tough is going to start you out with even slightly higher hit points, always a plus, but for this build, I'm going to actually go with the soldier for the savage attacker benefit. Savage attacker, once per turn, lets you re-roll your damage dice and choose which result you want. This is going to be absolutely amazing for those big, heavy, double-handed weapons. Now, backgrounds give you the ability to bump one of your ability scores by 2 points and another one by 1 point, or bump 3 specific ones by a point each. That's what I'm going to do in this build. So with the soldier, I'm going to put an extra point in strength, an extra point in constitution, and I want that extra point in dex, because this is going to bump our initiative and bump our armor class, while still maintaining the +3 modifier that we get in strength. Adventurers, if you're finding this video helpful, do me a favor and click that like button. It helps more people find us. And make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Here's a tip. If you're wanting to deal lots of damage right away, go with Soldier. But if you're looking to have your character be a little more durable, maybe lead towards Farmer. Farmer, however, is not going to let you put that extra point in dexterity. Now, I think Soldier also pairs really nicely for what I've picked for the species department. Speaking of which, it's time we talk about the choice that elevates this barbarian from strong to downright unstoppable. Now, for this species, to pair up with our barbarian class, we're gonna go with page 192, which is the Goliath. Now, Goliaths have always been a prime candidate for barbarian classes, but they haven't always been in the player's handbook. And sometimes some dungeon masters, to keep things simple, like to limit players to just what's in the player's handbook. If this is the case at your table, you're now in luck because you have Goliath as your barbarian option. So let's take a look at that Goliath. You are still medium-sized, but you have a speed of 35 feet. This is really great. That's a higher speed than a lot of the other species. Now, Goliaths also get to choose a giant ancestry. Goliaths are said to have descended from giants, so you get to choose between a cloud giant, fire giant, frost giant, hill giant, stone giant, or storm giant ancestry, and those all provide different abilities. For this build, I went with the stone giant, which gives me stone's endurance. This says that when you take damage, you can take a reaction to roll a d12, add your constitution modifier to that number, and reduce the damage by that total. Now, when you layer that on top of Rage's damage resistant, you become an incredible tank. You also get a great ability called Powerful Build, which gives you advantage on breaking out of grapples. Like I said, when you combine Rage with Stone's Endurance, you can now shrug off massive hits. Next, let's talk equipment for this barbarian. The starting equipment that was in that box mentions a great axe. This is an amazing weapon for a barbarian. It calculates its damage with a d12, which makes it one of the beefier weapons out there. Mastery in the great axe as well, you're gonna get this extra ability called Cleave, which says that when you hit a creature, you can actually hit another creature right next to it within 5 feet as well. If you're going after distant enemies or some flying enemies, you also get 4 hand axes, and these are great for throwing as ranged attacks for a barbarian. So by selecting the mastery property for hand axes, you're going to get the Vex ability. This ability says if you hit a creature with your attack, you have advantage to hit an attack again with the same type of weapon. Now, this is going to work great with 2-weapon fighting. If you haven't already used your bonus action to rage, you can throw that first hand axe, and if it hits, you get advantage at throwing the second hand axe. So let's go over again the synergy of this combo. Why does a Goliath barbarian soldier give you a frontline juggernaut? You've got rage plus Stone's Endurance. This is multiple layers of damage mitigation. A great background feat, like Soldier or Farmer, gives you a choice between an offensive or a defensive feat. You have options to tailor these ability scores as well. Perfect for strength-based combat. The result here is a barbarian that's hard to kill, dishes out steady damage, and scales nicely as you level. Now let's talk about leveling for a minute. This was a level 1 character build to get playing, but let's look at how this barbarian will scale as your levels go up. At level 2, you're gonna get Reckless Attack. This gives you advantage, but it gives your enemies advantage too, but you can take it. At level 3, I suggest the Berserker subclass so that you can get Frenzy. This is gonna give you an extra attack if you use Reckless Attack while you're raging, and the exhaustion that came with it is now gone in 2024. When you get to level 4, instead of taking a straight ability increase, take the Great Weapon Master feat. This still gives you a little bump in ability score. This lets you add on your proficiency bonus as extra damage. Then when you get up to level 5, the Goliath gets an ability called Large Form. This turns you from a medium-sized creature into a large creature. Your speed increases, and you get advantage on all your strength checks. But for now, to get started, you've got a barbarian that's almost impossible to knock down even at level 1. If you've loved this build, go ahead and hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe for more builds using the 2024 rules, including some that are unlikely combos but still work. Comment below which giant ancestry would you choose for your barbarian. Now here's the bonus tips on how to do some great role-playing with this Goliath Soldier Barbarian. Give them a competitive spirit for in-party challenges. Barbarians like this are gonna love some friendly competitions, like who can toss the biggest boulder and who can chop down the biggest tree fastest. Describe combat with some flair. When you use Stone's Endurance, maybe describe it as the party seeing your skin start to turn to like a stone-like texture, or hearing the faint echo of a giant's roar on the wind. How about a towering posture? In social scenes, they probably loom right over a conversation partner. Or maybe even have trouble fitting through small doorways. How about even having an intense emotional connection to their weapon because it's an heirloom handed down from their giant clan? It's a legacy that goes back to their ancestors. I've enjoyed having you join me. Now next you're going to want to watch one of the videos on the next screen, and I'll see you there. If you can monetarily support the channel, I have Buy Me a Coffee linked below, but free likes and subscribing are important too.